Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the United We Will Grow podcast, y'all. We are on episode 11. We are coming down to the end of season 1 of the United We Will Grow podcast. And again, we wanted to just focus on this first season, reflecting, refocusing, and revitalizing our organization. As you all know, I'm one half of your host, K.Short, and I crossed in spring 2010. I'm part of the new class at the Omicron chapter, and it's been so good to have my co-host, Candace Sanchez, where she'll be introducing herself and introducing our guest.
Yeah, so Candace Phoenix Sanchez, Everlasting Epsilon, Mu class. My ship name was in Still I Rise. Fall of, 2005, I crossed.
We've been doing this for how many episodes and you still don't know when you crossed?
I mean, it's like, it's a once a month kind of thing. So out of sight, out of mind. But no, when I wear my jacket, I'm constantly reminded. But yes, so
Yes.
very happy to have Julia here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our lovely sister here. She's hailing from the small town of Benson, Arizona. Julia, and Rojas is the last name. The maiden name, is it Layno?
Layno.
Layno Rojas. Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I got that pronunciation right. So thank you, sister.
You're welcome.
She is a proud sister of Gamma Alpha Omega Sorority, crossing in the fall of 2003 at Alpha chapter with her beloved Sigma class. Julia has served in various roles as an undergraduate and alumna. Since crossing, Gamma has played a significant role in her life, including introducing her to her husband, John. Her commitment to the sorority has now culminated in her recent election as the Vice President of Alumni Affairs. Yay! In this pivotal role, she aspires to be a vocal advocate for alumni concerns, amplify the alumni engagement, and guide the evolution of a new era in alumni relations. Beyond her sorority involvement, Julia thrives as the Assistant Director of Scholarship Services at Arizona State University, ASU, where her unwavering dedication is channeled into empowering all students to actualize their educational aspirations. Armed with a bachelor's degree, right? Bachelor's, because the word BS just kind of like BS in marketing and a master's in higher education from ASU. Julia's professional journey has been defined by her passion for enabling student success. Outside of work, Julia enjoys spending time with her family and cheering on her beloved ASU Sun Devils. Yay! Welcome our sister, Julia. Hey, that was a beautiful bio, by the way.
Thank you.
Very endearing. I love it. Love it.
Before we get into Julia talking really quick, I just have to say, y'all, I'm so excited to be just having this conversation with Julia towards the end of our podcast. I think it's a great way to round out season 1. But I just want y'all to know, like, for me, my perspective, I speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure I speak for a lot of people. For me, Julia is like the ultimate, like, Gamma. I feel like she is like just completely understands. She understands the mission. She understands the values. Like, she understood the job. She was like, I'm joining this. A decade later, after we were founded at ASU, I was doing the math. I was like, okay, I didn't get a degree in math, but I think it's 10 years. But like, I feel like, so if you all got the chance to join us at nationals, I felt like Julia was like kind of like their gatekeeper in a way. Not like their gatekeeper. I was trying to think of the word, but you could just tell like there's just this very loving and respectable sisterhood amongst herself and the founders. But like, you can see that there's this beautiful way of how they interact and the relationship that they have and they've built. And it's just like, I don't know how to say it. I just feel like you're the ultimate mascot of Gamma Alpha Omega. Like, I just feel like if there's anyone I feel in the organization that's such a strong pillar in our organization who like understands and gets it, I'm like, it's Julia. And so I just feel like I'm so excited to get to know you more and for sisters to hear your story, because I feel like, you know, if there's any way that we can walk that path behind you in terms of being a part of the sisterhood and getting to know our founders and knowing, yeah, they're awesome, but they're also like our sisters and you could be cool with them and have jokes with them and like all these things. Like, I feel like you are such a cornerstone for our organization and a great example for other sisters, a part of the organization too. So I'm really excited for this chat with you.
Thank you.
I always think of it as like like a liaison. Like she's a
Yes.
liaison
Yeah, I was
between the
like,
two.
what
She
is
can
that
bridge the
word?
gap. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the word
But she
I was
like,
thinking of.
but she knows like the insides though. You know what I mean? It's just like, what? They do that too? They're human too? She's like, yes, they are. But like, don't get it twisted though. Like, I'll still throw some bows if someone comes at them. You know what I mean?
Well, that's part of that relationship is I like my grand big is Amy Alvarez. So like
Mm,
that's how it started. That's how it was always built. Like, and even at
mm.
that point when I crossed, they were still like, oh, the founders, you know, and it's
Still
Mhm.
just
like
like
that.
getting to, yeah, they're still like that, but it's getting to know them on that personal, level of like, Annette lives right down the street from me. Like, I drive by and, I see her house, and it's just getting to know them on that personal level of like, okay, yes, they're founders, but they also want that sisterhood too from everybody else,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm. Yep.
So I try to make sure that they know that, you know, they're here for they're our sisters as well, not just our national founders.
Yeah, it's that
Yeah.
connection, I think. It's all
Yeah.
about that connection, the sisterhood bond, cultivating that relationship and really just wanting to get to know them on a
Yeah.
personal level, right? Asking them, how is your family? How many children do you have? It's, getting down into like the personal aspect, right? The whole
Yeah.
founders and the story. We hear that at our conventions, at our quote unquote, if we have retreats. I mean, so I think that's just that honor is just getting to know them more as
Yeah.
the people that they are, the women that they are. So I know for me, I learned a lot more um, this past June when we were in Tempe. So it's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring it back. Let's go back to you said what was it? 2003? I was doing the
Fall
math again.
2003,
Fall
20 years.
2003, 20 years ago, when
Yeah.
you saw Gamma Alpha Omega at ASU's campus. Like, yeah, tell us your Gamma story. And also, I just want to point out, y'all, this person not only is a hardcore like Gamma all the way, but she's a Sun Devil all the way. That she still has her ID card. The same,
Yes.
she's still working at ASU and still is using that same ID card on campus when she was possibly, you said, wearing a Gamma shirt in your picture.
I was wearing my green shirt.
Wow.
So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's wild. You got to bring out that card and show us for those of us who are tuning in and watching the video. But yeah,
Okay.
share us what was it like in 2003 at ASU?
Well, it actually started before fall 2003. My sister was so her roommate was a Gamma, and I remember seeing like her stuff, and I'd be like, "Ew, a sorority? That's not me." Like, I was a senior in high school, and I would just go visit my sister and just see, oh, her roommate had like Gamma stuff. She crossed in fall 2002. And so to me, I wasn't even that interested. And I remember like before I formally started college, like I was in a summer bridge program, and my sister would take me to be around these girls, and I would be like, "Oh, hi," like not really knowing like the concept of a sorority. And but my sister, who she knew me, she knew like that I loved being involved in school, and she also knew that I had to, build like a family around me. So she like talked to me about being in the sorority and being like, what was I interested in being involved in? And like I told her, I was like, well, I did receive a pamphlet from this other sorority. She was like, well, what was the colors? And let's just say the colors were pink and maroon. And she was like, no, I don't think you will want them. So I was like, okay. And then she took me because at ASU at the beginning of the semester they have a what we call like a passport where it's like all the organizations. So she was like, you should really look into Erica's sorority. So I looked into it, and as much as I am like, when I say I'm from a small town, like my town, like I graduated with like 85 people. So it was, I was looking for that family, and I just found it in Gamma. Like what I loved is like the girls are so unique. Like you have so many unique sisters. Like everybody comes from like a different way of life, they have a different perspective, and that's something that I love and that I was looking for. And for me, I'm I'm half, half white, half Hispanic. So it was something that I was like, okay, they have people from different backgrounds, different nationalities, different, um, just from different ways of life. And they're here and they're sisters. And that's what I loved. And that's what drew me to it.
And I think that's a really great point to touch on is being I feel Gamma as a sisterhood is very inclusive, right? We try to be very open arms, welcoming. There's no pressure, and I know like every sorority, fraternity, we have our passion for what we belong to, right? So when we talk
Hmm.
about like the whole rivalry, I know there's a lot of that goes on, but it's all love. We do it in all love. And I just remember like that was very key. Is just like we always told people who were interested, like, make sure you do your research, make sure we're the right fit. We never wanted people to feel pressured. And again, it was always, I felt sisters that did kind of gravitate towards Gamma, and I heard this a lot at nationals in June, was the welcoming aspect and like just the encouragement or inclusiveness or just saying hi and smiling and just I see you kind of thing. And I think that to me is just what stands out with the sisterhood, and a lot of our sisters are, I see that in all of us, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah. And Erica, is that Erica Castro, the one, our keynote, or not Eric?
No,
No. Okay.
that was her name's Erica Mamagon, and actually her
Okay.
sister Lisa ended up being one of my pledge sisters. So
Okay.
yeah,
That's
but yeah,
awesome.
I, something to think about. I was thinking about this the other day, in terms of our organization and the kinds of girls that we attract. And I was just observing, and I was with Amy and Glada, and she's like, "We're still attracting the same kind of girls." I was like, what does that mean exactly? So I'm curious. I'm going to say what I think the kinds of girls that we're attracting or have attracted and continue to attract. And I would love to hear what you two have to say. But I feel like there's this level of like underdogness to us, or this level of like, outsiderness, or just like we just never felt like we belonged anywhere else. And so for some extent, like maybe we did but not fully. And so when we come into Gamma, I think when, especially when you are around certain sisters, like that passion is just so vibrant and full, because maybe, and I speak for myself, because there wasn't a lot of places where I could fully express myself and fully be myself, where I felt accepted. And so finding a place where I can express myself in as many ways as possible, in all the ways, it makes me even have more love for the organization and for the place and for the home that allows me to be me, as opposed to other organizations or other things where you kind of have to, there's kind of like this little fitting mold. But I feel like what I love about Gamma is that if what we have in common is not necessarily exterior, but it's interior, it's on the
Mm.
inside. And I feel like, yeah, that's just my observation. What do you two think?
I agree because I look at especially um, you know, seen as like the girls who have crossed like after me, just how unique we are, but we share same vision, the same values, and it's it's like I liked how you said it. Like it's not an underdogness. It's the fact that it's like most of them come from like a first generation, and they're really passionate about helping others and helping others succeed and being that sisterhood. And that's what I love. And I see it today in the undergraduates I saw at nationals about, you know, like this is what we're doing. This is what we just want each other to succeed, and we respect each other and each other's opinions as well.
Yeah.
Who we are. We might not be, all the same, the cookie cutter image, and that's okay.
That's way okay. For me, it was like being an only child and wanting sisters, and I had a lot of cousins, which is kind of the same but not. But then finding the sisterhood, and then again, I agree, Julia. Service, community service, giving back to others. That was huge. That was something that I really valued when I saw the sisters doing the work in the community, giving back, volunteering. That was something that was near and dear to my heart that I had always done, and just seeing them, like we had the Gamma Pels program and the Gamma Rosas program at the Epsilon chapter, and how they would go and support those younger girls, in their sports or activities. And I'm like, wow, that's really great. Like they're trying to, plant the seed now so that these girls can consider college or think about something after high school, because again, and sometimes in our culture, you graduate and then what, you get married, have kids. No, not necessarily. There's more to life than that. So I agree. I think it's just that sense of belonging and that we all have that wanting to belong. And Gamma, I feel, again, going back to inclusiveness, and people seem to gravitate. I heard that theme quite a bit at nationals where people had the buddy system, and if their buddy didn't go, that other girl
Mm,
that was unsure what to go still went, and then she became a
mm,
sister. Maybe her buddy didn't, or her buddy didn't show up, but so again, it's like, it just, I think, and I say this, right, divine design. It's just all meant to be part of
mm,
someone's life because it's just what gravitates for them, to
mhm,
us, to the sorority.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we were talking about Julia. You said you've been a part of the organization for 20 years now. And so why don't you share with us how, from beginning to now, I don't want to say end, but beginning to now, how has Gamma played a role in your life and in the seasons that you've had in your life?
Well, I think, like I said, it just, even after college, like, I think most of my core memories, as they say now, from Inside Out, is from after I graduated college. So it's just, they were there um when I married my husband. I met my husband through Gamma. He was in another fraternity. But like they just get my sisters have been there through every step of the way. In 2020 when unfortunately like I lost my mother-in-law who I was close to, like they were there. And not only that, but when you go through something that I went through, oh my God, I'm about to cry.
It's
they
okay.
Yeah, it was just they were there for the support from making sure that was all right. I think it was during that time, like they had a during the pandemic, some sisters from other chapters were doing like um gift baskets, and I got one, because somebody recommended me, and I was like, you know what, thank you for thinking about me. And it was just like from the highs to the lows, like I've always had sisters there to help me, to like, to guide me, not to guide me out of my seasons, but also to be there by my side and celebrate when I'm at my happy seasons as well. So when I had my son, one of my sisters came out and she thought she was just going to be there for moral support. She was holding my leg. Like she got tagged in to like hold my leg as I was pushing. And I had another sister there who was a nurse in the hospital. She was checking in, making sure I was all right. She was like, "Oh, it's fine." I was like, "Well, you're saying you're fine because you're not in labor right now, but..." And I don't have my epidural yet, so okay, yes, to you it's fine. But it's just like like my like Gamma, somehow when there's been a significant moment in my life, like my sisters have been there and to cheer me on and just to help me out.
I think that's just the special part of sisterhood is just like you said, the highs and the lows. Happy, sad, and you're like when we say my sisters are the reason, like we really believe that, right? And those connections are so deep. And I mean, Julia, I always like, I know, like you and I had a little bit chance to connect a little bit more at nationals, and
Mhm.
then like being at breakfast, and you being the mom that you are. It's like I love watching my sisters grow, right? Like my kids are grown. I have grandkids,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like when I see a little one, or you're a new mom, and just like how patient and gentle and loving you are. It's just like, oh, look at Julia. Like it's just so cute. And then like, like I'm like, I'm an auntie. Like I just
Yeah.
automatically claim your child as like, I am your auntie's kids. Like he's got, look at all these aunts I got in here. I mean, it's just pretty awesome, that we have that bond. And I just, and honestly, like, I think for you, when I think about, you want all your sisters to be successful. Like, you've helped coach and mentor, and I'm sure, be a big sister, give
Hmm.
support to the little sisters, like, because you are from, the alpha chat, like, you're there from the mothership, that's
Yeah.
how I feel. And then I think, Gamma, I think's prepared you, like what you were talking about, after college. And you said it very in your definition of, like, your career path, your journey of life, to what it's taken you and contributed to your career. So talk a little bit about how Gamma really placed, like, when I think about how you want your students to succeed, you want them to aspire for college and succeed in college. Like, talk a little bit about your career path, that journey that it's taken you to where you are today and what you're doing today in your career.
Well, and it honestly, it goes back to Gamma, is that as an undergraduate, I saw that, sometimes like you reflect on stuff that you were missing while transitioning into high school, transition while you're in college. And there was that aspect of financial aid that I feel that's, especially for first gen students, it's it's kind of a daunting thing to really grasp your hands and grasp your hands around and understand what what scholarships are, what are loans, different types of loans, um, and just the whole aspect of it. So when I graduated, I knew, like, I got a marketing degree, but I was like, I don't think marketing's for me personally. Um, And so I just started in this financial aid field of, like, okay, how can I help people understand what their financial aid is? Like, understand like what is best for them? How can they finance their educational goals? Um, and so one thing that I'm proud of that I've done at ASU is that I was the first, like, advisor for when we had a program for our undocumented DACA students, for them to go to get their tuition paid for through a national scholarship organization, and then have some matching funds from a undisclosed donor, and helping those
Nice.
students succeed. And it was great because you see students, like, I remember having a parent and a student in my office, like, questioning me, like, are you sure that my tuition's paid for? Like, it's paid for, right? And I was like, yeah, like, this is how it is. This is, you got this scholarship. There's some matching funds. And then, like, the dad, who's very, like, rough, you know, like, exterior, just started crying. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, this is what we're here for, is because these parents are letting their students, you know, live out their dreams. They are their parents' like dreams. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have to remember that as well, that these students, it's not just them they carry, it's their family that they carry too.
Yes. Yeah.
And
And I think,
so,
yeah,
like,
you doing
helping
that.
that
Yeah, that is,
out.
like, amazing. That work that you're doing is so critical. You remind me so much of my sister here in Wisconsin, Stacy Malikata Flynn. She does, like, that student services, helps them with financial aid. So as you're talking, right, we always see a
Yeah.
sister and another sister.
Yes.
So there it is, right there. Wow. I mean, kudos on all of that. I mean, your career has just really, it's all been developed and nurtured and cultivated through Gamma
Yes.
to, and then how you just live and breathe ASU. Like, you are
Yes.
the footprint, like, of ASU. You're like, oh my God, I live here, I breathe here. This is where I'm going to put in all my work. And I think that's amazing.
Well, we are the number
Amazing.
one innovative university in the country.
Excuse me,
Hey.
So,
this is
hey,
not a marketing pitch for ASU, okay? This is
She
not
just said
I'm
she
just
didn't want to do
saying.
marketing.
I
I'm
know.
just kidding.
But
I Go ahead.
being in ASU because one of their pillars is, like, it's not about who we exclude, it's about who we include. And that reminds me back to Gamma. Like,
Yeah.
who are we including? And so it's great that it was founded at ASU, and that's like one of the pillars of who are we including, not who are we excluding. And I'm thankful for being at ASU because they allow me to do the work that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I still
can't
have
help.
sisters calling me up asking me about their financial aid as well. So
You're
It's
gonna always
as
be a forever resource. That's for
I
sure.
know.
Yeah, I feel like well, beyond that, I have to ask, where do you think your life would be like if you didn't leave little Benson, Arizona? When I read that in your bio, I was like, oh my goodness, who would have thought? You know, that's what I love about small towns, but it's like you just never know what it's like to actually give a student a chance, you know, and I'm sure working in financial aid, that can be a
Hmm.
part of the conversation. But I'm just curious, where do you think your life would be if you didn't, you can either didn't go to ASU and leave that little town of Benson, Arizona, but also, where would your life be if you didn't join Gamma?
I think I would have been back in Southern Arizona. I would unfortunately be, probably at the U of A. Just kidding. Um, no, but I was on track to probably go to. It was actually my because I had two older sisters who went to ASU, so my grandparents pushed me. But I think I would have probably just been in that small town mentality. So just been there trying to find, my a job there. Like I would have been stuck in that in a in my small town. So I'm very happy. Like I love my small town values that I grew up with, but now I also love the big city that is part of my life now.
And I'm glad that your grandparents pushed you. I mean,
Yeah.
that's to be that supportive and to say, "Hey, step out of your comfort zone and go for it," because they
Yeah.
believed in you, you know? So that support system is huge.
Well, and going back to they were one of those parents who, you know, they didn't know how to say thank you. My grandma, because I went to that summer program, my grandma used to bring food to the director because like it was the same summer program my sisters went to just to say thank you. And again, my grandpa was one of those people who very stoic, but he was very grateful and appreciative of what was offered to me at ASU and to my sisters.
I would love to hear more about your Gamma career. You know, I think again, you've done a great job of continuing to serve and continuing to give back. So tell us how that started out after graduation, and the positions you've had and just watching and witness the growth of this organization.
Um, because after I was always involved, like I was active my 4 years, 4.5 years, um, in Gamma. And so when I graduated, you always have that existential crisis about like who am I? Who am I going to be? So they had an opening for Southwest Regional Director, and I was like, I can do that. And I remember, at the time, um, bugging one of our sisters who was on the board, hey, like, am I going to be this position? Like, how does it work? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, slow down. You need to get interviewed first. So I was like, okay. And so that's how I got the position. Like, I was like graduated and then I just started serving on nationals. So I think I served for Southwest Regional Director, for Collegiate Affairs. That's what it's called now, for about 4 or 5 years. And then I transitioned to VP of Standards, which it's a very unsung role. And I know sometimes it's not the most liked role. Um, but after that, I kind of just took a break. I still served on like national committees, like Traditions Committee, revising our PA manual. Um, so I took a break, and then I hope when there was an opportunity to start our local alumni chapter here, I was first hesitant because I was like, I don't know, because after serving at VP of Standards, you're just like, you don't see the best of the organization. So, um, but looking at who was involved, like I moved forward in like assisting and helping start um, the alumni chapter here. I think I was like the vice president when we first got the first e-board, and then eventually I became president of the chapter of the Greater Phoenix Alumni chapter as well. And then for a little bit in 2019, I was like, oh, I want to help. I want to be on nationals again. So I applied to be alumni affairs. However, it was also the same month that I got the alumni affairs intern position. I also found out I was pregnant. So there was kind of a timeline on that. Because once I gave birth, I decided to like kind of focus on making sure to be a good mom. So, and then I took another break, and now I'm back.
Yeah, so you're back because you are now the VP of Alumni Affairs. Hey, hey,
Yes.
hey. So now in this position, I mean, with all the years that you've, been involved, doing the work, stepping in, stepping out, taking a break, which is all okay. And you touched on, sometimes it can be a little difficult to, have these positions and, sometimes, things don't go the way we plan or things happen and you have to have difficult conversations. I mean, that's any business, that's any corporation, that's any organization. So, we don't want to like deter people, but it's the reality of all. But when you put hard work in, good things come out of it. So, being now the VP of Alumni Affairs, what do you feel like we need to really focus on with our mission, with our vision? Because we know sisterhood doesn't end after college. So, like, now that you're taking on this position, what do you feel like our primary focus or that we should refocus on really?
I think we need to refocus on what does it mean to be an alumni in this organization. As collegians, we have a mission to like, hey, we're here to go to school and graduate. But as alumna, we have different interests. Some people are continuing their higher education. Some sisters are being mothers now. Some people are devoting, to to their career. So there's varying interests. But I think we need to see what are our alumni, like how do we engage our alumni, like who have various interests, who are on various tracks in their lives. How do we re-engage them into Gamma? What is something that, you know, we have talked about having an alumni retreat so that way we can see that what really bonds us is our sisterhood when it comes down to everything. And so, how can we re-engage that sisterhood with our alumni, but also continuing to honor wherever they are within their life?
I love that. I absolutely love that. Honor where they are in their lives right now because I know for me personally, I am an alum. This is a way to give back for me. This fits with me. I love doing this. So I'm giving back. I feel like I'm paying homage to the organization in this way. Would I love to take a position? Yeah, but maybe when I'm retired, or maybe when I'm a lot older. I mean, I'll still have it, but it'd be something to do, to be active, right? So I love how you say meet them where they are. I think that's amazing.
Yes.
And the retreats to be able to just say, let's have some sisterhood fun. Let's gather. Let's, instead of always being about business, right? And I think that's what deters, I feel, alum is those chapters become like business, like when they were in the collegiate chapters, right? And I know that's
Yes.
kind of, I felt been the energy like, oh, we got to do hours, we got to report, we got to, so then it's just that whole feeling of, I feel like I'm back in college again. So I love what you said. And for me, another point I want to make before we move on or get to the next point, because I know K.Short wants to probably chime in, is the whole, I told K.Short this at Nationals. I don't want to pick what chapter, alumni chapter. I want to go to all the events they all have, because Windy City has one here in Chicago, and then you got the Milwaukee region, and then you got like southeastern Wisconsin. I'm like, y'all, not trying to pick which chapter to go to. I want to be a part of all you because I love them all. So I don't know. That's
Yeah.
just how I feel.
And I feel such okay, I'm going to tell you like a secret. So sometimes like when I was in May, I visited my sister. My sister lives in Seattle now. And I may have been creeping on like, oh, I wonder if Greater Phoenix or Greater Seattle has like an event. I wonder if like Gamma chapter's having an event. And so I go to Tucson sometimes to visit my family, and I look like, I wonder if Beta chapter has an event that, a car wash I can just go and support, because I love meeting new sisters. I think, in the end, it's all about like how can we help uplift each other. And back to like, meeting sisters where they are. Sometimes sisters, I've been through it. We all probably have been through it. Like I have previously mentioned, where we are low on gamma spirit. So, and that's fine. But how can we also make sure that if they're low on gamma spirit, that we're still there to let them know that once they get their cup full, we're back here for them.
I love that. I know that you've been on the board for a little while now. It's November, it's coming to the end of the year. And I'm curious, just in general, like beyond, obviously you're like, I want to reactivate alumni, things of that sort. But I think it's important for us in season one to still have the conversation of like some level of honesty and transparency again with where we're at in the organization. So, witnessing it, being back on the board, serving for, on and off for 20 years and things of these sorts. You've seen different seasons of Gamma. What is your personal opinion, Julia's opinion of where we're at as an organization? And of course, taking into account this position and what you envision for the future of Gamma.
I know in like episode 1, Amy's episode, she talks about how, and you guys talked about the seasons and like we might be in a winter, but I feel like we're getting out of that season and we're realizing like this is the seeds that we need to plant in winter, so that way when it comes to spring, they can come to fruition. And I feel like that's where we are at right now. We're trying to plant those seeds so that way once we move to the next season, we are blooming.
Mm-hmm.
And I would agree with that. And not to toot our own horn, I think this podcast has allowed us to see opportunity, right? To tell our stories. I mean, 30 years. I just found something, who shared something with me? It was a card of a fraternity or sorority that had 20,000 sisters show up at their national convention. And I was like, what? Like, oh my God. Like, and I envision that to be us one day. Like that can be us in 150 years, because man, we're still young. But I think we're doing great. We're making strides. And this to me, podcast is one way, and so I just appreciate being able to have these conversations. And Julia, thank you so much for listening to the past episodes, because that means like, you saw value in it. So this work that we're doing, it matters. Right. So I'm just honored that we can do this.
Well, I was just making sure that I was like, Amy, are you going to mention me in that? Like,
did she?
No, she did not. We had a conversation about that.
Oh, we had a conversation.
How did you want to be mentioned?
I'm just saying, as her, I don't know, as a person she stalks. Because Amy and I, like, back to their sisters, we work like our buildings are right next to each other. So she can see in to see if I'm working. So sometimes, like, because my back is against the window, so I can't see, but she can see me. So she was like, check to see if I'm working or what am I doing.
Love
so
that.
I'm just like,
my goodness.
Yeah,
I love
speaking
that.
of, again, we're talking to someone who's been able to be a little bit closer to the founders than maybe some of us have, from your perspective, and in an all loving way. If from sisters from who are maybe a little bit further, like in Wisconsin or something like that, if they were to just give us some like tidbits of the personalities of our founders, like if we were to go to Clara for certain things, what would we go to her for, and what would we not go to her for? I don't know.
Like,
just tell us
Clara,
about our founders a little bit more.
She is like a cuddle, like she is such a cuddle, like such such a mom, such a like an understanding. So during nationals, unfortunately, like I had a family situation where I had to step out, and I asked her to help cover. I was supposed to get an ASU tour, and she's like, okay. But she also followed up with me to make sure that like my family was okay. She not even like the day after, the week after, to make sure everything was okay. So she's that kind of founder. Um, Amy, I have that's my grand big. Like her and I, like there's always times where it's like, oh, that's why we're in the same family tree. Even with my big about like Disney obsessed, plain hamburgers. That's why we're in the same family tree. And they are, I think like just they have a very unique personalities, all of them. You know, Annette is kind of the wild child sometimes. You'll see her out, but they are all like, I can joke with them, I can have fun with them.
Hmm.
And I
I
think
loved
it's
how
just,
I love how Lupe said, Val will tell you about yourself.
no,
She said on an episode in the previous episode, I was like, she goes, because she just had to tell me a couple of things or two. But I love the fact, again, going back to what you said earlier, they're just real people, right? Real
yeah,
people just like us. But, I still feel like that whole royalty when I'm around them, like they're celebrities in my eyes. So, yeah, I'm always going to feel like that, just that special because of what they've created for us.
yeah. And it's also something like I said, it wasn't an instant, like, it's something that's been cultivated throughout the years.
Yeah.
And this relationship that we have had, like, Val would call me, like, she had my personal, direct line to my office to be like, what's going on with with the financial aid of my kids? And I'll be like, okay, Val, this is what's going on. And so, um, but yeah, so it's just knowing them on like a personal level, and I think at the end of the day, they just want to be sisters above all else, and they really respect and honor the sisterhood that we created. So,
Love that. So speaking of sisterhood, let
hmm
sisterhood is a big part of who we are, what we do with our organization. So tell us, you hear Amy a lot about the work relationship, but tell us about a relationship that you have with a sister and how it's just developed over time. How do you feel it's been sustainable, and or a sisterhood story that's really stood out to you over all of these years? I'm sure it's hard to pick just
I
one or
know.
maybe two, but if you just want to share, because we always love to share our sisterhood stories.
Um, I think one of a sister that I'm closest to, who wasn't even active when I was active, I still don't know how we became so close, would be Blanca Lueta, who has served on the board as well. Um, and I don't even know, like, how it happened. And if you ask her, she says that she probably did something wrong in her past life to be so close to me, you know? But it's just like her and I, like, we are sometimes, she's that sister where you can be like, this is my idea. And to have that complete honesty of like, even outside of Gamma, like when it comes to family, when it comes to like, hey, can I bounce something off of you? To have that complete honesty of like, no, that's crazy. Stop doing that. But I know we just be like, we just became close to the point where, like I'm the godmother to her daughter. We like, I don't, I'm trying to think how to put this into words. Like this special relationship that we have of like, when going back to 2020 again, my mother-in-law died, passed away, I needed to call somebody to come and get my son as we sorted through issues. And she was the one who I called to come and pick up my son and to take care of her, to take care of him. And it was her and another sister who's my son's godmother, Griselda Yee Chacon, who they worked it out within themselves in terms of taking care of my son while my family was dealing through these issues. And it was so comforting to know that when I was going through such a hard time, that I had two great sisters to really lean on and to take care of something that's very precious to me. And I think that's what Gamma is, because I'm unfortunately, I have few relatives up here in Phoenix, and family, but I do have family within my Gamma sisters.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I love that you're like, I don't even know how it happened, but like this
I don't even know.
beautiful, you're like, I have no idea, which is wild. Like it's just you never know who you feel that connection and chemistry with and where that relationship is going to take you. That's such an incredible story. Thank you for sharing that. I can only imagine what that experience was like.
I
So
know.
speaking of sisterhood, if you can describe our sisterhood in 3 words or a phrase, how would you like to describe it?
I think there's this phrase, it's like individually unique but together complete. Because I've always felt that, like, I'm a weirdo sometimes. I'm strange. I know that. Like, I embrace it. That sometimes, like, being from a small town raised on a farm, there's some stuff that I'm just like, oh, like, I just have a different perspective. There's a reason why my nickname's Orbit, because I'm always sometimes out there. Um, but I think, being that we're like each individual is so unique, but together, once we come together, it's that completeness, it's that sisterhood that holds us together.
I
So,
absolutely love that. I had to put that in the chat so I wouldn't forget because it's so good. So individually unique, together complete.
complete. Yeah.
I love that. Girl, that is like a shirt. We should make a shirt.
No, I think we did make a shirt one time, or I may have got it from a shirt sometimes. I think so. I'll be
Yes.
honest. But when I think of that phrase, like that to me is Gamma, because we have
Yeah.
sisters who are we are just so like I said before, we're so different, but once we come together, like it's just we are a sisterhood. Like there's people that I know, if it's any different walk of life, we probably would never interact. We probably would have never known each other. But because of the sisterhood, we have gotten to know each other and be part of each other's lives.
And I feel like for me, I mean, for sisters that are listening, just know, and Julia, I think Candace and I can say this on the podcast and saying, like, you're going to be seeing a lot more of us. But in general, we say that because exactly what you're saying, like, we have so many amazing sisters. And I think when it comes back to alumni relations and things of that sort, we just want to get to know y'all more. So for those of you who are listening, like, if it's truly about the sisterhood, and it doesn't have to be in these big elaborate ways. It doesn't always have to be like serving. That's always nice. It doesn't have to be the podcast and things of that sort. But like, is it as simple as just reaching out, just saying that you can stay at my place or picking them up from the airport? I know that's always my big thing. I'm like, who's picking me up from the airport this time? But in general, like, we just want to know where y'all are at, how we can support each other, how we can support you, and just really bring our sisterhood closer together, especially our alum, where I'm like, I can't help but have all these ideas, like, how can we gather? How can we come together more often? So just know that I would like to say that the three of us are going to be working with each other within this next year, especially with Julia as our VP of Alumni Affairs, and just, hope that you all take into account that we need each other. We miss you. We want to get to know you, and we want to continue to strengthen our sisterhood. So
Yes.
with that said, Julia, speaking of being in a season of planting seeds, if you can plant seeds, little mustard seeds for sisters, actives, alumni, inactives, founders, charters, our alum in general. Where y'all at? What seeds would you like to plant in this season?
In this season, I would like to plant the seeds of everlasting sisterhood, um, the seeds of everlasting service, not service to Gamma. It doesn't have to be with Gamma, but service overall to. We have 2024. It's going to be a big year for our country. And I think it's how are we leveraging our voices to make sure that as gammas, as women, as who we identify as, like that our voices are being heard.
That
So
is very powerful. I love that. So I know as we're getting ready to wrap up and get ready to close out our show, some parting advice, some parting words that you would give to everybody, our sisterhood, whether they're active alumni, inactive. So give the parting advice, some words of encouragement or parting closing remarks from you, Julia. And then how can sisters get connected to you? So, drop your IGs, share out your information. No phone numbers, but just
yeah.
how they can get connected with you. So parting words and then how they can connect with you.
My parting advice is the reason why I talk about all this work I've done for Gamma is because Gamma has given me so much. Being, I'm going to say that small town girl coming to the big city world. It's given me so much. And we always talk about like, it's not what you get out, it's what you put in, or some phrase like that. And that's how I feel. Like, yes, I put in a lot of work, but I feel like I've gotten it back 100-folds. And every sister's journey is unique. Do not judge sisters on where they are on their journey right now, and we will not judge because every sister's growing. And we would just love to see you, even if you just stop by for a quick drink at a happy hour that someone's hosting. We would just love to see you.
I love that. Great, great words. You've dropped so many nuggets. I can't wait to go back and re-listen to the episode because you just some great, powerful encouragement. And I love just some of the things I remember is meet us where we are, and just
Yeah.
it's all about the service. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be service, but giving service. Like that's part of our our core of what we do and why we do what we do. So that just reminds me of that's why I think I love to do what I do. Yes, it's maybe, but it kind of is because you're representing Gamma no matter what you're doing. You've earned those letters, you represent the letters and all that you do, right? So I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you can get in touch with me, alumni_affairs@gammaalphaomega.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook under Julia Layno Rojas. You can add me as a friend. I don't post as often, but I will like and comment on your stuff. But
Love that.
that's where I'm at.
Julia, well, thank you so much again for being on our second to last episode. We so much appreciate you and all the work you've done with Gamma Alpha Omega. I can only imagine the many things we don't see, but we do want to celebrate you and just say thank you so much for all that you've done and continuing to put in the work so our organization continue to exist. We're so excited for you being our new VP Alumni Affairs, getting a second time around. Hopefully it's a little bit longer than 9 months, but if it is, hey, we'll take a month. That's okay. The wisdom and experience you have is so valuable, and we're so appreciative of that. And speaking of that, we just want to say thank you and congratulations to our new NAB. We just want to say thank you also for celebrating and for serving our organization. So I just want to give a big congratulations to all of them and a shout out to them and allowing us, as Candace and I, two little only children who just like to talk a lot, for allowing us to do this podcast for this amazing organization that we love so much. And speaking of that, we are in the midst of looking for interns and host for season 2. So if you feel like you can be a host for the United We Will Grow podcast, if this is something that Julia would like to continue, any of you would like to continue, and you feel like you would be an amazing host, amazing intern, or even producer, make sure that you find us on the internet and let us know. We do have a form if you want to fill that out, and Candace and I will be looking at interviews, taking interviews to see who we feel like would be amazing hosts to take on season 2 for the United We Will Grow podcast. So you can email us at podcast@gammaalphaomega.com. And as we get closer to that. But other than that, y'all, make sure for the last episode, we were doing a live call-in show. So it's going to be something new, something Candace and I are doing for the first time. So we love your patience and grace from the beginning. But we will be sending out a link for folks to join in live. So you will do the best practices of Zoom, keeping yourself on mute, but us just having a conversation based off of the 12, 13 episodes we've produced for United We Will Grow podcast, and just last documentation for season 1. So again, thank you so much for listening. We hope that you have an amazing holiday season, and we will hope to see you next month on December 25th for our last episode. All right, y'all. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.